Hello everyone, welcome to another survival game guide in our Medieval Dynasty series. We're going to be talking about farming automation, or how to automate your farm. I have expanded my fields quite a bit, and I still got some more expansions to make. And I'm getting to the point where, I need a little bit of help on the farm, just making things a little bit more efficient so that, I'm not missing out on crops. So we're basically going to go from top to bottom how to automate your farm so that, it's a little bit more hands off for you. You might need to step in now and then. But by and large, all of your workers should be handling the farm and everything related to the farm on their own. And obviously, you can scale this. I tend to really enjoy farming, so I might not do some of these steps to the full extent just because I like to actually be out here doing it myself too. So scale it as needed. But first and foremost, if you want to automate your farm, you're obviously going to need farmers. You will find these guys, at the typical other villages. You just have to talk to them and find out what their skills are. This guy's clearly a farmer, so we'll just quick interruption here. And we'll be like, hey, what's your skills? And you basically, if he says this, it means he likes being a farmer. So
have a good day.
Please, thank you. So basically, find those individuals, invite them to your village. And just to kind of repeat of some of the things that I've said in my previous videos, farmers need to be close to the fields to get the to work as efficiently as possible, because they're actually out here physically doing stuff. Then they have to be here to do it. So I have all my farmers live in these buildings basically, which is basically right off the fields here, and I'll probably start building some houses on that side too eventually. But basically, put your farmers in houses close to your fields. Now, when you have your farmers, there's basically two farming structures, production buildings, whatever you want to call them, that they should fill. The most important, in my opinion, is the field shed here, which is this very humble structure. These guys that you assign here are going to be the ones who are making your fields and planting them and then, harvesting and all that. So that's what they're in charge of. The other farming structure is your barn, which we'll just kind of run over here so you guys can see it. That's this bad boy right here. The barn is another important structure because it can make a few things, but one of the primary ingredients, products, resources, whatever you want to call it, that you'll need from this guy is fertilizer. So it's not a bad idea to have one or two of your workers, your farmers, in here producing fertilizer, because fertilizer is a vital part of farming. You can't really have or finish a field without fertilizer. So having workers in the farm shed and a handful in the barn is a good way to go. So once you have your workers, you can start to kind of lay out your fields. Now, keep in mind, if the area isn't clear, if it has trees, for example, back there I have some trees, you're going to have to first clear those trees before you put down a field. It won't just auto-destroy them for you. So it can kind of get a little annoying, especially if you're making big fields. You might not know what trees are in the way, so you got to keep stopping and all that. And to make a new field, basically you're going to go to your buildings, you're going to go to farming, and you're going to go to field. And obviously if you want to make an orchard, you'll go to orchard instead. But for fields, we'll click that, and then you'll kind of just see this little thing, and you just go out, and when it's green, that's basically says, hey, you can put a field here, go for it. If it ever turns red, it might be because you've reached the max size of your field, or there is something blocking it, and it's usually a tree, so you might have to chop some trees down. Your workers won't chop the trees down, you got to do that yourself. So but once that's done and the actual field is down, these guys will actually start grubbing up the field, and they'll start putting fertilizer down and seeding it and all that. So that's basically the main thing you need to do is just be this is where the field is, the trees are gone, go for it, guys. Yeah, so that's kind of the main thing with making your fields. And then once you have the fields down, this is a good point to make sure that you have somebody in the barn making fertilizer. And on top of that, you need manure to make fertilizer. So to do that, you're going to need a pigsty. So having another farmer, assigned to your pigsty will let them collect a lot of manure, and from the manure, your worker who's assigned in the barn can take that, make it into fertilizer for the people in your farm. So by doing that, by assigning people to those roles, you yourself do not have to go, to the pigsty to get the manure and then make it yourself and then, give it to the farmers. That's taken care of for you. And not to mention, when you have somebody actually assigned to the pigsty, you're going to get a lot more manure than if you were doing it on your own. So that's like, another little thing to do. And once you start making really big fields like I have going on, you're going to need a lot of fertilizer. You're going to need a lot of manure. So having somebody assigned to that can really help you out with that. So basically, I guess, like, in a way, the production line goes pigsty, barn, field. That's kind of like a way to think about that. So once you have fertilizer, these guys can, put it down, and that means after the fertilizer is down, they are then able to sow the fields. And there's there's like 2 ways to do this, really. You can do it manually the first time, like if you were to put down a brand new field, and then you like put down, like, let's say, well, you're making a wheat field, okay? So you put down the field, you've fertilized it. And now you yourself, not your workers, but you are putting down wheat seeds. Come the following, whatever season, when that field needs wheat seeds again, your workers will know, hey, wheat needs to go here because you planted that the season before. So that's one way to do it. Now, if you don't want to do it yourself at all, the best way to do it is through the management system. We'll just quick go there. Management, you'll go to the little field icon, and you can see your list of different fields that you have. So you can kind of see what we got going here. I gotta update some of the ones that are a little bit smaller, but basically we'll just go to carrots real fast here, and you can see when you double click it, this little menu here shows up, and you're actually able to switch it how you want by clicking the little person here icon. So you can clear it, and then you can change the plant type. We'll just quick press C here so you can see. So here's all the different things that you can do for a field. If we wanted to turn this into a poppy field, we would click poppy, and then we would click, we'd click and drag. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to get rid of this field, but we would click and drag until basically, like, we see the poppy symbol on all these squares, and that basically tells the workers that that's the seed that you want, or that's the crop that you want on that field slot. So they'll just do it, so you don't have to actually do it yourself, which is really cool. And then I always name the fields just because it just makes life easier for me. If that's something that you want to do, then you just kind of like click on one of these guys, press H, and then you can just type in the new name for it. That's just how I kind of keep things, organized for myself. So feel free to do that if you're a little bit like me and you need that. A little bit of organization help too. So basically, once you have all the crops assigned, your farmers will start doing their thing. Now there is like a few kind of like little tidbits that kind of like help you make sure that your farmers are working as efficiently as possible. You might have noticed I have like these little red symbols. This basically means that these fields here are not close enough to the shed, which means it's basically saying that the workers are going to take more time walking back and forth from from the shed to that area. So it's not the most efficient. So they're saying like, hey, maybe you want to build like another shed closer to it, and then assign a worker there, just so that it's a little bit faster for them. And that's totally awesome, and it's not a bad idea to do that if you want like a really, really efficient farm. Like I said, I like to do a little bit of farming myself, so I don't really mind if it takes them a little while, because it just means I can pick up that slack and have a little bit of fun too. But that's just what that kind of like red symbol means. If you see that, it just means maybe build another field shed close by if you want to. So that's cool. Now, there are other things like outside of farming that can make your entire farming process more automated. Obviously, we talked about the core of farming here with these guys, but there are other workers out there that you should consider automating too, just to make sure that your farmers have everything they need to work. And the first is the blacksmith. It's not a bad idea to have a blacksmith ready to work, because they'll be making, like hoes and scythes and sickles for your farmers. And obviously they can't work without those tools. So having a worker in having a blacksmith really, do that for you, make those for you, just means that like these guys always have their tools ready to be used. You don't have to make those tools yourself or check on them to make sure that they have what they need. So blacksmith, get them going. Another worker to have ready to go basically in producing is a seamstress. And that is because they can make a pretty decent bag. We'll see if I can sneak in here real fast. Where is it at? Oh, it's probably here. Here we go. I think it's this bag right here, actually. They make like a really decent bag here that has like a higher durability than just the standard bag right here, than the simple bag. I just tend to make this because I'm just really lazy and all that. And I have like a lot of leather to go through, but if you want your bags to last longer for these guys, because they use that to spread fertilizer basically, it's not a bad idea to have a seamstress making that. You don't have to like put all of their effort into making the bag if you don't want to, but having someone there just making some extra bags for these guys is, it's good, because if they don't have that bag, they can't spread the fertilizer, which basically stops the entire farming process. So again, that just makes the whole farming a little bit more efficient. And then once you have some like crops coming out, you're going to want to start. I mean, you can sell them as they are, but if you want to make the bulk of the money, it's not a bad idea to like turn them into food dishes. And to do that, you're going to need 2 other workers to kind of facilitate this. 3 really, but the first is somebody to gather like buckets of water. So they'll be assigned to this little well, and they'll be making. They'll take buckets and they'll fill them with water. And you want water, or buckets of water, because that is what you use to make like a various baked goods. And if you're having like a lot of a lot of grains basically, you can use those to make baked goods, and they sell pretty well too. So I highly recommend going into a bakery if you have the means to do so. Now, obviously, the person working the well is going to need buckets, right? So your other worker should be in the workshop making buckets for you. They should also be making plates and bowls, because the cook is going to need those items to make the food items. So a way to think about this, like a little path, is a worker in the workshop making bowls, plates, and buckets. A worker on the well making those buckets into buckets of water, and those bowls, plates, and buckets of water going to the cook over here, or various cooks, who is then making, this person's clearly busy, they're not busy rather, they need something to do, but making food items that you can feed to your villagers if you want, or you can sell them, because they honestly make pretty decent coin in my opinion. And you might need several cooks depending on how big your farm is, just to kind of like keep up with all the excess coming in, because your farm can produce a pretty good amount of crops and ingredients, again depending on the size of your farm. So that's kind of like the end of the production line, I would say, is with the cook. So like that's kind of it. That's basically how you automate it. Get workers in those specific buildings making those specific things, and your farmers will basically be able to farm pretty gosh darn efficiently on their own without your help. Or again, you can always jump in if you want to. But that's basically more or less how you automate your farm. If you want to get really hands off and do whatever other adventures that you want to take part in, follow that little strategy. And obviously, if you guys have other strategies or tips or whatever, do share them in the comments. And yeah, good luck farming. Have fun farming. Until next time, guys, keep surviving and keep thriving.